Welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by the Law Office of Michael Robinson, PC, on News Radio, Wham 1180. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shining a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now from the News Radio Wham 1180 studio in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Well, hello and happy Saturday, and it is afternoon. Happy afternoon, I guess. I'm glad to be here today with my co-host, estate planning attorney Mike Robinson, and our producer, Pam Rapp, up in the tower. She said it's not too windy up there. We're watching her. If she starts swaying, we'll let you know. But for the next hour, feel free to settle in and get comfortable. And we've got two important guests coming up in the next hour from Rochester's Veterans Outreach Center. And that's where they proudly serve our area's veterans and their families. Executive Director Laura Stradley, a veteran herself, will join us to talk about services. And then we're going to hear from a Marine who's been using these services since he came back from Vietnam. So I'm looking forward to hearing his story. And his name is Emil Anderson. It's going to be a really good hour. So I think it's time to let's rock, as we say. Mike, I understand your topic today is on the FDIC. So that's really good because I think I said to you earlier, all I hear lately is FDIC this and FDIC that on the news. And it's like I'm almost blocking it out because I don't really understand what they're talking about half the time. So I'm looking forward to your piece here today to educate us, me, in plain English on what exactly is the FDIC and how it affects us, me, and I'll ask you to take it away. Hi, Mike.
And all the rest of us. Hey, Joanna, happy Saturday.
Hello.
So, yeah, there's been a lot of talk this past couple of weeks about the safety of bank deposits in the wake of the recent failures of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. You know, specifically, I've encountered several questions about FDIC insurance, what it is and how does it work. So I thought it would be helpful this week to just take some time to explain FDIC coverage and also to share an interesting application of FDIC coverage in the context of estate planning. And FDIC is the acronym for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is a federal governmental agency. It was created 90 years ago for the purpose of insuring bank deposits so that if a bank fails, consumers don't lose their money that's on deposit in that bank. And while the FDIC was created by Congress, it actually doesn't receive its money from congressional appropriations. Rather, it's the banks who participate in the FDIC that fund the agency by paying insurance premiums to cover customers' deposits. That coverage is not unlimited, however. The FDIC insures deposits up to $250,000 per owner per institution. So for a very simple example, let's say I have $300,000 in accounts at Bank A, and Bank A goes under. Well, $250,000 of my $300,000 is covered by FDIC insurance, but the additional $50,000 is not. However, if I have $250,000 in Bank A and another $50,000 in Bank B, there's still a total of $300,000, but now it's divided between the two banks. If both of those banks go under, the $250,000 in Bank A is covered, and so is my $50,000 in Bank B because I have FDIC coverage up to $250,000 in each bank. So that's a very simple, example. But to take that just a little bit further, let's say that my wife and I have a joint bank account at Bank A with $300,000 in it, and Bank A fails. Because the FDIC coverage is $250,000 per person, my wife and I each have $250,000 in coverage. And because the account is a joint account, we each are deemed to be owners of one half of the account, in this case, $150,000 each. And because $150,000 is less than the $250,000 coverage that each of us has, all of our $300,000 is covered.
Hmm. Well, there's a lot of math there, but it sounds like a good outcome.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult when you throw numbers around on the radio, but I tried to keep it simple. And
Hmm.
and while this is interesting, certainly the question then comes up: well, what does all of this have to do with estate planning? And it turns out it has a fair amount to deal with estate planning, and that is because of how trust accounts are treated under the FDIC rules. So let's say I've created a trust, either a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust. The amount of FDIC coverage I have at any one institution where I have an account in the name of my trust is $250,000 times the number of beneficiaries who will inherit upon my death, up to a total of five. So if my trust names my three children as beneficiaries when I die, and I have $750,000 on deposit at Bank A when Bank A fails, I actually have $750,000 in FDIC protection. It's $250,000 times three, the number of the people who are going to inherit at my death, in this case, the children. If I have five people named in my trust as beneficiaries upon my death, I have a total coverage of $1,250,000. So
Hmm.
five times $250,000. And if my trust is a joint trust that I created with my wife, again, we each get our own separate coverage, so we double that amount. We would have a total of $2.5 million in FDIC coverage at Bank A. Now, if my trust is an irrevocable trust, there's an additional $250,000 in coverage for what are called contingent beneficiaries. And that's an issue for very few people. I don't want to confuse things by going into detail on that. However, last year, the FDIC actually updated its rules to eliminate the distinction between revocable and irrevocable trusts and make the trust rules easier to understand. And those new rules will go in effect on April 1 of 2024. Um,
Hmm.
so that's, a brief example, but I hope it's helpful. And Joanna, the same coverage rules for trusts apply for deposits at credit unions also. Uh,
Ah.
s- Same rules. It's the coverage is administered by a different agency. It's the National Credit Union Association, but the rules essentially mirror one another.
Aha.
So
Good
I
to
always
know.
find this, yeah, and I always find this interesting. It's just another example of how estate planning choices can often have unexpected impacts. And in this
Hmm.
case, it's kind of a nice side benefit, if you will, to planning with trusts.
Yeah, and how it's important to talk to an attorney, an estate planning attorney, if you do have deposits and you do have questions, and this stuff gets complicated. So it's important that someone's up on all the most recent rules. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and it's
Thanks for explaining it.
sure, and and I know that everybody doesn't have that much cash necessarily in the bank, but when you think about it, this we're talking about your checking and savings accounts. If you have CDs at the bank, those are included. If you have an IRA at the bank that's in a cash position, that's included. So more people than you might think are actually impacted by these rules.
Right. It's like people who say, "Well, I don't really have an estate. I don't have much." But when you start looking at what you do have in assets, it does add up quickly. So good point there too. And I don't know. I mean, summing it up, any advice, general advice? Is there a way to be general about this? And I guess I'm wondering, everyone, gets a little nervous about these banks, but it seems that our local banks seem pretty solid, right?
Yeah, and there was quite a bit of talk about that, of course, in the last couple of weeks. The two banks in question both had some unique situations that put them particularly at risk. Our local community banks, I don't think are at the same level of risk.
Right. Okay, good. Well, thanks again, Mike. And folks, next up is the executive director of Rochester's Veterans Outreach Center, Laura Stradley. She's got some important information coming up, so stay right there on News Radio WHAM 1180.
When you've lost movement, flexibility, strength, or balance, traveling a long distance for physical therapy seems like a bad decision. That's why Agape Physical Therapy has a convenient location near you, east side or west side. And there's a new location in Pittsford with Aqua Therapy. Let Agape Physical Therapy and wellness professionals customize a treatment program for you to help you recover quickly. Visit agapephysicaltherapy.com and schedule your free consultation today. No doctor referral needed.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May.
I thought that was a good song to start this segment with. It's a little cloudy out there, but we do have some sunshine on the horizon. And right now, I'm with my estate planning attorney co-host Mike Robinson and our producer Pam. And now we're all pleased to introduce you to the executive director of the Veterans Outreach Center. Her name is Laura Stradley, and Laura is an Army veteran who spent 8 years on active duty, and she got her master's in business administration just before leaving the service. So obviously has experienced that type of thing, and in using what some of those benefits that the Army offers. She's worked now to serve other veterans for more than a decade, and she became the executive director of Veterans Outreach in 2017. So we're happy to have her here to share information about the services. She certainly knows about them, and to say thank you for your service, Laura Stradley, and welcome to Seniors Rock.
Thank you.
You're very
Laura,
welcome.
Laura, thanks for being with us. What programs and services does Veterans Outreach Center offer for senior veterans?
Well, we have a lot of programs and services that are really relevant for probably any generation of veterans, and I know seniors, as well as some of our younger veterans, even sometimes find themselves in a situation with housing, not having stable housing, and so we have a number of older vets that may end up actually working with our residential team and either living at our homeless shelter or our transitional shelter, Richard's House and Otto House, or even in our permanent affordable housing complex, which is called Liberty Landing. We opened that in 2020, and that is it's basically just an apartment complex, but we offer programs and services there, and it's for lower income veterans. And then out of our North Campus, which is what we call kind of our main campus where vets just come and go, we have a lot of employment and training programs. We have peer support and wellness therapy programs, as well as a lot of just kind of general case management. So for an older veteran who may be trying to figure out what benefits they're eligible for and what types of maybe public programs they qualify for, our case managers will work with them on those things.
And that's great. How Laura, does a veteran sign up for services at the Outreach Center?
Well, it's really easy. They can just actually walk in any day of the week, Monday through Friday, between 8:30 and 5, and they can meet with a case manager pretty much on the spot. They could also give us a call at 546-1081 to set up an appointment. And if neither of those, are really the method that makes them feel most comfortable, they can also get on our website at vocroc.org, and there's a opportunity to check a box that says I'm looking for services, and then they can kind of fill out that information, and somebody will give them a call and set up an appointment.
Terrific. Now, I wonder when you entered the Army, if you ever thought you'd be in this position, and it's really wonderful what you've done for the veterans and you being one of them. But now that it's the 50th anniversary, that's pretty impressive, of the Veterans Outreach
Thank you.
Center. Can you tell us what it means as the executive director? I mean, it must really hit you close, huh?
Oh, it does. Yeah. And, I guess to your point, no, I didn't think I'd be working with veterans all these years later. When I joined the Army in 1996, I was trying to figure out how I was going to pay for college. And so that was probably the biggest driving force behind my decision. And at that
Yep.
time, I wanted to be a high school music teacher. So I joined the Army Band, and I thought that was a good first step, and then I'd get money for college. And, of course, a lot of things changed after that. I grew up a little bit, matured a little bit, and realized that wasn't what I wanted after all. So I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity for so many years now. Even before becoming the executive director at Veterans Outreach Center, I've been working with veterans almost since I separated from the military in 2004 in one capacity or another. And so it's just really, I think, kind of been a calling for me. And knowing that I'm following in the footsteps at VOC of some very tenacious and just patriotic, committed folks that got us to where we are now is really an honor.
Absolutely. And I can hear the passion in your voice. And I'm thinking there's listeners out there who would like to maybe volunteer or help. How can folks that are listening help with your efforts?
Sure, we're always looking for volunteers. We have some volunteers that come in and work, daily in some of our programs. We have other volunteers who will do some of our events with us, and we have a lot of events through the summer, particularly late spring and summer. So they're always welcome, again, to give us a call at 546-1081. Or they can, again, get on the website, and there's a drop-down menu for volunteer opportunities. And then, sometimes people want to do something to help and they don't have a lot of time, and so there is also a wish list of items that we're always looking for by way of donations. So time, treasure, or talent, we always say, we're glad to accept any of those if people want to be part of our efforts.
That's
Great.
terrific.
And Laura, you're physically located at 791 South Avenue, correct?
That's where our shelter is. Our main campus is at 459 South Ave.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
And it's vocroc.org for, to look further into this or to get some help if you need it. Thank you so much for joining us, Laura Stradley.
You're welcome.
You have a
And
great
we'll be
rest of your
back
weekend.
right after the news here on News Radio Wham 1180.
Our area's first direct primary care practice, Athena Direct Primary Care and Lifestyle Medicine, is open. Direct primary care is an innovative alternative to traditional corporate-style primary care, where you pay a monthly membership fee. There are no fee-for-service payments, no third-party billing. So less paperwork leaves time for extraordinary direct access to your own private physician, a members-only phone line, and unlimited, unhurried appointments. And other services are included too. That's all for one low rate. Athena Direct Primary Care is accepting new patients for a limited time only. Book your free meet and greet with Dr. Laura Petrescu today. Learn about this wonderful new practice, including membership benefits and the costs, at athena-directcare.com. That's athena-directcare.com. Or you can call. It's 585-662-5510.
I know a place. Ain't nobody crying. Ain't nobody worried. Ain't no smiling faces. No, lying to the races.
And welcome back to the Seniors Rock Show. I'm estate planning attorney Mike Robinson here with host Joanna Palvino. And Emil Anderson is joining us now. Emil is a Vietnam veteran who served in the Marine Corps. And after being discharged from the service, Emil came to the Veterans Outreach Center in 1973 for help. And he's been using the services at the Outreach Center for 50 years now. And Emil, first of all, thank you for your service and welcome to the Seniors Rock Show.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can. Hi, Emil. This is Joanna. I just wanted to say thank you as well. And I guess what my first question is going to be, if you could please give us a brief summary about your time in the service. I certainly remember I graduated from high school in 71. So I remember many of my older, brothers and sisters of my friends going, and it's quite so many memories. So you must have some if you want to share some, please.
Yeah. So in back in those times, things were totally different. They had the draft back then. So when I was in my senior year in high school, I got drafted in my senior year. They just gave me my diploma and sent me on my way. They were going to put me in the Army, but I decided the Marines had a nicer uniform, so I decided to go in the Marine Corps. I volunteered to go in because I didn't want the Army uniform. But anyways, yeah.
Whoa, I have to ask as a mother, it made me shudder that you were in high school and you got, drafted. How did your mom feel about that?
My mother was very upset because I didn't let her know. I found out, and she didn't know, and I didn't tell her till I was on my way to Buffalo to get sworn in. So
Wow. That's
she was caught
wild.
off guard. So she was really caught off guard. She didn't want me to go,
Yeah.
but I actually wanted to serve my country, so I was okay with it.
Excellent.
So I went in the service. In 1969. I did my time. When I came home, it was a real struggle. Back in those days, when the Vietnam vet came home, a lot of businesses did not want to hire us. They were saying that Vietnam vets were baby killers and all this other stuff. And there was a lot of protests going on during that time in the colleges because I imagine a lot of college students didn't want to get drafted, of course. And so I came home. I was struggling to get a job. I wasn't sure what to do. I'm standing on the corner of South Avenue and Main Street, and I had on the top of my greens, my Marine Corps greens, and this guy walks up and he goes, "You look like you're confused. What's going on?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I just got home from Vietnam and I don't know what to do." And he said, "There's a little place on the corner of South Avenue by the expressway." It was a little house at that time. A lot of people don't remember this because it was so long ago because they know about the VOC on South Avenue, uh, where we are now on Comfort Street. But this was on the other end. And I went there and there was a gentleman standing inside the building, and he said, "Welcome home, brother." And I said, "Thank you." Um, so I think Gary Biker, no, there was two guys, Gary Biker and Tom Cray. And I told him I just got home. I couldn't find a job. I'm struggling because, I don't know what to do. And Tom Cray says, "Listen, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go home." He said, "I'm going to call you later, and we're going to see if we can help you." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." I didn't really think it was going to happen, but they called me later on that afternoon, and he says, "I want you to go tomorrow morning to Gleason Works. There's a gentleman there named such and such, and he's a retired veteran, and he wants to give you a job." And that was the first job that I got when I got home. So that's the beginning
That's
part.
great.
Yeah.
That's a great story. And by the way, folks, if you just tuned in, we're talking to Emil Anderson. He is a Marine Corps veteran, served in Vietnam, and we're talking about his experience with Veterans Outreach Center. So in addition to the job, Emil, can you talk about other ways that you found the VOC helpful?
Yes. So I'm not ashamed to share my story because I'm praying that it will help another veteran. So
Thank you.
when I came home with a slight addiction, um, and it carried into uh, latter parts of my life, and I was struggling really bad. I became homeless, and I went to the VOC. I had constantly been going to the VOC for anything I needed. Like if I needed clothes, if I needed food, if I needed someone to guide me, like a counselor or something, I found all that at the VOC. And so in 2007, I was struggling, and I went to the VOC, and uh, they said, "Okay, we're going to help you." They sent me to Canandaigua. I stayed there for 68 days, pulled myself together. When I got out of Canandaigua, they sent me to the Richards House. The Richards House is owned by the VOC. It's there to help veterans. It's a halfway house for veterans. When you come home, because you're home basically homeless, they gave me some clothes. They got me on track. Um, they helped me to uh, start putting my life back together. And so I stayed at the Richards House for maybe 8, 9 months. When they felt that I was secure in my recovery, they suggested that I move into my own place. And the Richards House is a place that you start off sharing rooms with different people. Then they have a part that's called the Auto House, which is single apartments, and that helps you with learning how to have independent living. And once they saw that I can live on my own without a problem, then they said, "Okay, we're going to help you again." I moved down to an apartment on South Avenue. Trying to remember the name of it. I'm getting old, so I'm starting to forget stuff. But anyway, I moved down the street, and I stayed in the apartments for 5 years.
Emil,
Saved my money. Yeah.
your story is amazing. It's heartbreaking, and yet it's so motivational. So thank you for sharing all of the things that the VOC has done for you. We're going to talk a little bit about this a little further with listeners after this break, but I just want to thank you for joining us, and you're welcome to come back anytime. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Folks, stay tuned. We will be right back on News Radio WHAM 1180.
And we begin to rise, steady, rocking till the break of dawn. Rock, steady, steady, rocking all night long. Rock.
And welcome back to the Seniors Rock Show. That was a great segment we just had, Joanna. And
Yes, it was.
the Veterans Outreach Center really is a critical part of providing needed services for local veterans and meeting them where they are. And that includes, people's events.
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to call out like GRAPE, the Greater Rochester Area Partnership for the Elderly, who has many, or they have many, many businesses. And all of you, a lot of you do a lot of events. So please remember to call the Veterans Outreach Center, and they can have someone come and attend the event, and they can share information. So it'll help all of our veterans, and we can really reach out into the community that way.
Very good. And we like to keep an eye on the sky here at the Seniors Rock Show. And I don't know if anybody saw the Northern Lights the last couple of nights. I'm thinking not here in our area just because of the cloud cover.
Mhm.
But we do have something coming up this week, actually, starting tonight. And we've got an alignment of 5 planets that only happens maybe once every 20 years or so. And specifically, the planets are Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Uranus, and Mars. And they're going to be visible just after sunset in the western sky and kind of in a vertical arc with the Jupiter and Mercury down towards the bottom and then moving up. Mars will be the highest, most planet. But it should be visible with the naked eye. Maybe some help from binoculars would also augment the experience. But shortly after sunset and tomorrow night, just looking at the weather forecast, seems like it'll be the best viewing day coming up. So if you go out and can look out to a good unobstructed view, especially you want to be able to see close to the western horizon. You'll see Jupiter and Mercury there, and then again moving up Venus, Uranus, and Mars. So fairly rare, again once every 20 years or so, but pretty cool stuff.
I just had to turn my mic back on there. I am going to be watching for that. And yeah, I was upset because there were shots over the lake of the sky the other night, and I missed it. I didn't know, but I'm going to be watching for this lineup of planets. It sounds pretty cool. They were calling it the Parade of Planets.
Ah,
And
yes.
supposedly, yeah, you can see it over New York State. So thanks for filling us in and giving us a heads up on that one. And there's a lot going on this week, today and tomorrow. Don't forget, if you want to go for a walk inside, it's going to be windy outside. Go to the Rock Home and Garden Show in the Convention Center. That's an option. And tomorrow is Brainwaves. And we talked about that last week at Casa Larga. It's from 1 till 4 to benefit survivors of traumatic brain injuries. But I'm asking listeners not to go to the event because I would personally like to win all of the wonderful raffle items myself. So, so
That's
yes, I'm
cheating.
kidding. I know it's terrible, but you can, yeah, $40 at the door. It's an open bar, beer and wine, and all kinds of great prizes. So that's going to be a big event tomorrow at Casa Larga. And what else are we going to share? I guess I should mention next week we have Dr. Laura Petrescu will be back. She's with Athena Primary Care, and she's going to give us more tips on healthy living. That's always good for everybody. And there's a couple birthdays tomorrow. Did I mention who those were to you, Mike?
You mentioned it to me, yes.
Yeah, you want to share?
Well, I guess Steven Tyler of Aerosmith is 75 tomorrow. Sir Elton John, 76 tomorrow, also, you told me. So
Yeah.
those are some big names in the music world.
I'll say. So, folks, if you're home and you're not going to go out because it's windy or whatever reason, there you go. Play some music and enjoy yourselves, right? And I want to take a minute here to thank our sponsors, all of which are listed on seniorsrockradio.com. And I want to give a special thank you to the Veterans Outreach Center for joining us today, and to remind folks that they are there serving those who serve. So get involved. It's vocroc.org, whether you're a veteran or someone who wants to volunteer. And we just want to remind you that veterans rock, right, Mike? What else?
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Be well and be kind.
Veterans and seniors rock. So I'll say it one more time. Veterans rock. I can't say it like I do. Seniors rock.